Welcome to Talking Early Years, a showcase training podcast with Ellen Roberts
and Gemma Carr.
Hello and welcome to today's Talking Early Years podcast. In this episode, in our safeguarding shorts, we're going to be discussing breast ironing. So tell me, Gemma, what on earth are we talking about?
So breast ironing is the practice of flattening or pressing a girl's developing breasts to delay puberty. So this is often done using heated or hard objects. So it can be stones, spatulas, hammers, or by tightly binding the chest with fabrics.
Sure.
It usually begins around the first signs of puberty, but sometimes when the girl is as young as 9 years old.
Okay.
And it's often carried out by female relatives, such as mothers, grandmothers, or aunts, who believe that this will protect the girl.
Okay, interesting. And this is a bit of a left field kind of area of safeguarding, something that thankfully we're not massively adept with in the UK. So prevention from what, and protection from what?
So it's believed that it will prevent the girl from sexual harassment or rape, reducing the risk of early pregnancy, avoiding early or forced marriages, and allowing the girl to stay in education longer. So it's keeping the child young. So it's keeping her younger than she actually is, so that potentially male predators or sort of that sending off for forced marriages can't happen. So it can be seen almost as a protection, but actually it's a form of abuse.
Yes, absolutely. A very interesting form of abuse as well, because the abusers feel justified in doing it. And that's where it's a cultural practice more than anything else. And the principle behind it is solid, it absolutely, they are doing it to protect the child. However, there is absolutely a wider issue there of woman. It's a similar construct to if a woman is unfortunately raped and it's but she was wearing a short skirt. Well, that's not her fault that's happened. Not the reason, it's the person that's done it who is to blame. And same here, we shouldn't be binding children to make sure
forced
that
marriages.
Absolutely. Stop forced marriages. Stop people from raping children. Really deal with the issue at hand. Easier said than done. I completely appreciate that, and maybe this is a path of least resistance to solving a few problems, but it is a massively underreported form of physical abuse. It is particularly prevalent in areas of West and Central Africa. Again, as we say, it's more of a cultural practice than anything else. But of course, now that our world is much more connected than it ever has been, and we see communities in all countries now. So we need to be on the lookout for this type of practice within setting, especially if we're in more culturally diverse areas of the UK and in settings, because it might not be something that other people will come across ever or have experience of, but we still need to be aware of it just in case. So what kind of signs and indicators are we looking at then for spotting it?
Yeah, absolutely. So it can be a tenderness in the breast area, swelling, bruising, again, burns if they're using heated objects for it, scarring, lumps or breast deformities, discomfort when we're in the tight clothes or during PE physical activities, or delayed or abnormal breast development. And again, that's all physical signs. And then behavioural signs could be reluctance to change, getting undressed for lessons, again thinking PE, avoidance of medical checkups or reluctance to talk about the chest or the body, and the secretive or anxious behaviour around certain family members.
Terribly, terribly sad, and massive consequences beyond it as well. It's similar in a way to FGM, which we previously spoke about. It has a massive impact, both physically in terms of health and developmentally, the mental health aspect of things. So we're seeing things like physical severe pain, tissue damage long term. There could be infections, especially if the area is perhaps burned and then not treated or protected afterwards. We've got scarring and deformities, as you say, and potentially in the future problems with breastfeeding. So they do develop and choose to have children, potentially longer term there. And of course, psychologically, it's massively traumatic for that individual, both as a child and as they grow older and learn that practice isn't correct and it's had this impact on them. And they could have deep shame about their bodies, massive issues with self-esteem and confidence, depression, anxiety, withdrawal, all of these things. It's a huge issue when it does happen. But what is there to stop it from happening? What legislation is there around it? Is there any?
There isn't again, thinking back to our FGM, there isn't a specific law, a specific legislation around this. However, it does come under all of our safeguarding legislations. It comes under that abuse and is relevant within all of our safeguarding legislations that we discuss.
Sure. Fantastic. And I think it's one of those areas of safeguarding that you can't safeguard and make a policy or law for every single aspect of safeguarding. But it absolutely, as we say, it comes under assault, grievous bodily harm, child abuse, those kind of elements. So very much something that is looked at in law in the UK. So in terms of other things we need to be looking out for, what family or contextual risk factors could there be for a child?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we're kind of talking about early years, they're still too young at that point. They may not be seeing that specifically on that child in your care. However, that child could have older siblings or from sort of that cultural background. So thinking about families' beliefs and kind of any comments, things like that they may be saying. So about preventing that early puberty and protecting girls from that attention, again, if you're hearing them say things like that, or control over the child of the girl's body or clothing. One thing could also be the child being kept home during that puberty time. So thinking about, again, you're hearing those conversations potentially. A parent expressing a strong fear about a girl's becoming too mature too early, or the practice of being known in the family or community background. So again, if you know that this is a community that they come from, just being aware of it and kind of highlighting that to your safeguarding lead if or when needed.
Fantastic. And of course, in an emergency, we're dialing 999. So if we suspect a child is in danger, absolutely call the police or the emergency services immediately. Make sure you are raising to your DSL within the setting if you are concerned, MASH, LADO. But also we can have a look at other resources like the NSPCC, UNICEF, your local healthcare professionals and social care. They equally will be able to provide you advice and guidance for these situations, because they can be extremely tricky to navigate, especially where there's cultural beliefs and privacy involved here as well. So in terms of more specialist support, perhaps you could go through where other people could get support from.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's Barnardo's or the National FGM Centre. So this kind of it does come under the sort of in line with the FGM as well. So this provides support and safeguarding expertise for harmful cultural practices with that Barnardo's and FGM. Also Forward, all caps, is Foundation for Women's Health Research and Development. So this works with women and girls affected by harmful practices as well. And Karma Navara is a support for honour-based abuse and forced marriages as well. And again, that they all interlink into one another.
Yeah, that makes complete sense. And it's often a similar cultural practice. We're talking about the same cultures really, but perform these practices.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, that was really, really insightful. Just a whistle-stop tour, really, on breast signing, and something that people may not have even heard of previously. So very, very interesting. And do make sure you check out our website for some extra resources on that as well.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for tuning in today. As always, safeguarding is a big topic. And if you have any concerns, you can reach out to your settings DSL or to the Showcase Training Safeguarding Lead, which is Ellen, or directly to MASH or Lado.
Don't forget to like, share and follow our podcast to stay updated. And as always, please keep the conversation going about early years and safeguarding. Until next time, take care and keep making a difference.